The broadcast is now starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
Good afternoon / good morning, everyone. Thank you so much for joining our membership webinar on retention and recruiting best practices. With me today, my name is Lisa Caruth, CPC. I am the CLC chair, and with me I have Karen Tucker, CPCE, the CLC vice chair, as well as three panelists. Next slide. Oh, just kidding. We are going to start out with, sorry, I should have put it in a different order, my fault. With me, I have Brian Ziegler from JSAV from the Denver chapter. I have Tracy Markle from A-Smart in San Antonio from the Alamo chapter, and I have Julie Mackey with Nuovo Bride Group, the Tampa VP chapter VP of membership. Goodness, Lisa Marie, learn how to talk. We are going to start with the results to date of the spring membership campaign. Really exciting. So far, we've added 94 members, and it looks like for the smaller chapters, Nashville is in the lead. And then for chapters 51 to 100, it's kind of a tight race up there at the top. Triangle has 6, Chicago has 5, Charlotte has 4. And then for chapters 101 plus, Dallas Fort Worth is way in the lead with 10. New Orleans is at 6. Atlanta, Houston, Orlando, and Tampa are all tied at 3. So really excited to see what the final results are at the end of today, because the spring membership campaign ends today. So we're really excited about that. We're going to go ahead and move into the presentation and talk about the life cycle of membership. So basically, members are going to sign up to be part of your chapter. So you get an email from National, hey, Brian Ziegler has joined your chapter, so excited. And then it's your job to integrate those members into your chapter. And we're going to talk to each of the panelists about their onboarding best practices. So who would like to go first in terms of that? Tracy, why don't we have you go first?
Sure, that would be great. So what was been very successful for Alamo was when I would get the email from Sylvia, I would reach out to the new member and I would copy my entire board on the email. And I would do my welcome, give them their instructions, and attach their welcome letter for them to save. But then what our board would do is they would separately, not reply all, they would separately also welcome that new member. And once we started doing that, I mean, we had such a better retention rate because they really immediately felt the love from the chapter. And it just really made them feel welcome and like they were really a part of something and that we were grateful to have them, which of course we were.
That is so great. Thank you so much. Brian?
Yeah, so kind of jumping ahead a little bit, I kind of think of integration as being one of the more important parts of the membership life cycle, because you really don't have any level of engagement, nor can you really retain and renew members if you're not really integrating them into the chapter. And so one of the things that we've started to do recently is when we get that new member, we're kind of using that as an opportunity to create a personal touch. And so we're going and visiting that new member and bringing them a gift for one, just something commemorative, something that's branded with NACE, but something that just kind of adds a personal welcome. So that's one of the things that we've been doing. Another thing that we're rolling out now is sharing committee information with new members right away and encouraging them to get involved at the committee level. I think for most of us, we've already bought into the idea that the value of our membership in an association is exponentially increased when you become involved with that association. And And so we find the same thing is true with new members, getting them involved at a committee level right away, getting them early involved in and actually doing the work of the chapter really makes them feel a part of that chapter and really smoothly kind of streamlines that integration process.
Perfect. Thank you. Julie?
We have found that it helps with retention and also the introduction piece. We do send the welcome email as well. With the whole board is copied on that so that we're all on the same page. And at the meeting, we invite them, new member, to come early, a little bit early, so that we can assign them to a member liaison. Ideally, that liaison will be somebody who has a vested interest in, let's say, if the new member is a venue, we don't assign them. We assign them maybe with a photographer who would like to be in that venue, and we kind of pair them up deliberately so that the new member gets the benefit of meeting people. And the liaison, it actually will say, who are your best prospects in this room? Who would you like to meet today? Would you like to meet other venues? Would you like to meet other vendors that you would want to maybe be working with, to increase your referral business? Because ultimately that's why it's education and referral that we have found have been the most effective tools.
Exactly.
Okay, so it sounds like what I hear from all three of our panelists is that getting new members integrated into your chapter automatically leads to member engagement, and when members are engaged, they're automatically going to renew. So that integration and engagement process is very critical in terms of not only making your members feel connected, but also getting them engaged and getting them to renew, which is our ultimate goal, is to keep our association vibrant and growing, and retention is a huge piece of that. So thank you guys all for that. Next slide. So we just signed up all of these new members as part of our spring campaign. Now what do we do with them? What are our best practices in terms of member retention? Next slide. What did we talk about at Evolve with Cynthia Diamore? People join an association for 3 reasons: to meet people, to learn something, or to help in some way. That's been a pretty critical phase, and you guys are going to see a lot of this come back at the CLC meeting at Experience. We are going to kind of go over all of this again, but we really want to take these 3 concepts and talk about how this relates to membership for each of those points. Next slide. In terms of meeting, let's talk to each of the 3 panelists about what their best practices are in terms of connecting new members. I know Julie just mentioned, who do you want to meet in this room? That's essential in getting new members to feel like they matter, because we're all in this association to grow our businesses. And if you're immediately connecting me with people that I can do business with, or I've been waiting to meet, or people I didn't know I needed to meet, it creates immediate sense of value. So let's talk a little bit more about that with each of our panelists. Julie, do you want to go first this time?
Sure. So having the liaison, Tampa Bay is a large chapter. I know that's not always possible with the smaller chapters, but having a strong membership committee is really helpful, and that's where the liaisons come from. Because with that, with a large chapter like ours, sometimes you can feel pretty lost. So we make sure that we're personally inviting the new members to come a little bit early, get acclimated, meet the board and meet their liaison, so that they have somebody to kind of guide them through that meeting. Because even if you're joining a networking group, it's not always easy to jump into a room where everybody knows each other, or have, sometimes it turns into a reunion as opposed to a networking event. So we always try and keep that liaison close with our new members, so that they feel included and part of something. Because having that personal relationship has been really huge on the retention factor as well. Because then once they see the process that way, they can kind of get involved. Hopefully, I can keep them in the membership committee.
And who are your liaisons? Are they members of your membership committee, or do you reach out to individual members to be those liaisons?
I open it up to people that I think are a good fit because I am in sales, and I think you have to have people that want to be there, that are enthusiastic about networking and about attending. Attendance is really important. They have to be at every meeting in order for that to happen. They have to be kind of meet in a criteria, if you will. That a strong business owner is always a great opportunity for me to have on the membership committee because they're personally invested, say, as opposed to a franchise business like Connie Douglas, or someone that they have to have a presence there as opposed to wanting to be there. Does that make sense?
Absolutely.
Yeah, that's been my tool for the past 2 years since I've been on that board. So those are two things I would look for. Somebody that's great with people, that's not shy, that has that inclusivity already kind of naturally, and they want to connect people.
And do you find that members like to be asked to be liaisons for new members?
Some do. Some do. Some get. It's a fine. I found that it's a measure. It's a personal measure. Where some members want to be there, but they want to get their feet wet a little bit. They want to get acclimated. They don't want to just jump on the membership committee. They feel a sense of responsibility with that, and a little bit of pressure. And I don't want to create pressure with them. So some of the new members just want to come in and educate. And so for me, that's, then I kind of work them from a retention angle as opposed to, keeping them happy, letting them know that they have a voice, that we want their feedback, that if that's not the committee for them, then there's other ways that they can get involved.
Perfect. Tracy?
We do something very similar. I never had a membership committee, so we had a hospitality chair. And during our board meeting, we held our board meeting immediately before our monthly meeting. So we would go over the roster and look to see who the new members were, or if maybe there was a member that hadn't been for a while and they were coming back. And we would literally assign the board to different people. Sometimes there were so many visitors, each board member had to take one. So we would just kind of hover around registration desk. And I think that's a really good practice regardless, because that's, everybody has to come and check in, right? So what better way to make people feel welcome than for the board to kind of hover around the registration desk? And, one of the things we always struggle with is member value. Well, you can't put a price on value if they just feel welcome, if they feel like you genuinely want them there. And I know it's very easy to get into your groups and talk to your people, or maybe you have business to attend to, but we would all really make an effort to not sit with our friends, spread out, really make people feel welcome. And that's what kept them coming back. And it just really worked well for our chapter.
Great, thanks. Brian?
Yeah, so kind of to piggyback on what both the other gals said. For one, I would make it a point to highlight that the single best tool for networking, for creating networking opportunities at the association level, is the program. It's just the opportunity to create networking opportunities and relationships. So for us, one of the things that we are interested in doing and haven't quite rolled out yet is the liaison concept that Julie was talking about. I think that's invaluable. I think matching new members with active and current members and introducing them to people, that there's nothing that really personalizes a program more than that. We also take the registration desk as an opportunity to do some networking. One of the things that we've started to do is, rather than have everybody sit passively on one side of a registration desk, we have one of us come around to the other side and interact with people as they're showing up. It's a great networking opportunity, but it also can kind of slow things down in the line a little bit and allow you a chance to get on top of all of your logistics. So, it keeps people engaged while they're waiting for their turn to get up to a registration desk. Another thing that we've done a little bit is we've recently started to roll out some table topic concepts. Having something to talk about around a round table when people are eating is a great way to break the ice. It's a great way to get people engaged. We did it for one program, and we were able to put a board member at every table. So that person could kind of act as that liaison that Julie was talking about, but also at the same time kind of run a table conversation. Another thing that we've done is we've done online spotlights of new members. So when we have a new member join, we connect them with communications right away. And communications, our communications chair will put together like a online spotlight on Facebook of that new member. And then during the event, we'll actually quiz the attendees just to make people on and read up on this person, or and we'll throw some interesting facts out about this new member. And it's a good way to sort of highlight that member, but also kind of engage the rest of your membership to make sure they're reading, checking out your social media stuff.
I like that.
Yeah. Other than that, again, I would encourage membership to work closely with programs. Again, this is that opportunity to create networking connections and relationships with programs. So you can really build a program centered around the idea of introducing new people and connecting new people. And that kind of, to leave you with an example, we did last month Catering Olympics program. And an important part of that program was taking people out of their comfort zone and putting them on teams with other people they didn't know. So the program kind of forced you to engage with people that you didn't know and hadn't met before. And it was really effective in that capacity. So.
Perfect. Thank you. Next slide. So these are really, these meet best practices are really what Brian, Julie, and Tracy are really talking about in terms of being friendly, getting out of your clicks, personalizing the membership experience. Think back to when you joined NACE, and if you had been treated this way and been welcomed by a liaison committee and received personalized emails and all of those things, how much better your experience would have been. So I really feel like these are really key principles for making sure people feel welcomed at their very first NACE meeting as a member, so that there are really you're creating value right off the bat. Next slide. We're going to move on to the learn portion of member retention and connections. And this is really piggybacking off of what Brian just talked about in terms of chapter programming, making sure that your programs are really engaging and providing value for membership. When people talk about what's the value of being a NACE member, it's our education, our tools, our content, and our resources to educate our members, to stay informed about industry trends. And what I always recommend to chapters in terms of programming is use the CPCE core competencies to provide topics for your meetings, whether it's food and beverage, accounting, any of those kinds of things that you can use to focus your chapter programs around those. You're creating member value, and then you're also tying it back to one of the national strategic objectives in terms of education and the CPCE exam. Next slide. Brian, Tracy, or Julie, any of you can answer these questions. How many of you in your chapter programs talk about these opportunities in terms of learning the value of business academies, CPCE certification, NACE experience, anything like that? Is that something that you guys incorporate into your spiel, so to speak?
I'll jump in real quick. I do mention it in the initial letter, benefits of being a member, the Welcome to Tampa Bay letter, briefly. This is probably the weakest link for me in terms of the meetings, because there's so much information being thrown at them during the meetings. But this is a good, one thing that we did recently was we actually had a meeting where it was a tablescape challenge, and they actually had to answer questions that were taken off the CPCE to earn table accessories to decorate their tables with. It was probably the best meeting we did all year.
Oh, fun. That's great.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, we too admittedly don't talk about this stuff as much as I think we'd like to. One of the things that we've been talking about as a committee that we want to do is create a sort of a NACE new member roadmap. And this would be a good item for that. You know, there are so many different aspects of your new membership, your shiny new membership to navigate. And I think having a one sheet that kind of gives them a clear map to navigate is useful. And I could really see talking a little bit more about this kind of stuff in something like that.
Perfect. Thank you. Tracy, do you have anything to add?
Well, I agree with Julie. You know, we try not to inundate with too much information. However, we did something similar as well. We did a NACE Hunger Games, and we had 5 different teams, and one of the areas of competition was a speed round of answering CPCE questions. So that really was a intuitive way to get people excited about it and learn more about it and realize that there's a lot to learn out there.
Perfect.
That's a great
Thank you guys so much for that. We're going to move on to the next slide. The help portion of member retention and connection is really what this next piece is about. What are the best ways, Brian, that you provide new members the opportunity to help?
So this is an interesting topic because I take the opinion that help is probably one of the least addressed motivators behind being a member, and I don't know that we really do anything, to answer your correct question directly. I don't know that we really do anything like that. What we are interested in doing is creating a mentorship program. We are finding that there's a significant portion of the membership base that is sort of cycled past the 2 other motivators behind becoming a member to meet and learn. There are people in that stage in their career where, and you all know them, in fact some of us may be some of them, who know everybody in the industry, everybody in the area. We've met them all. There's nobody left to meet at a new event. There's very little left to learn. Not saying that we don't all have things that we can continue to learn towards self-improvement, but you know, we've been in the industry for decades. We know what's out there, and so the learn part of it is not something that is as motivating. But the idea of helping the next generation, what are we doing to create opportunities for some of the other, what I call legacy members who have been members for a long time, who are in sort of that latter stage of their career? What are we doing to create opportunities for them to help, to give back? And so that's something that we're looking at doing through a mentorship program. You know, maybe I'm not sure if we'll get into it really in this webinar, but we're very focused on a student membership pipeline. And part of that, I think a huge value to that pipeline is connecting those people with the other side of the spectrum, those who have been in the industry for years and years, those legacy members. So we would like to see a mentorship program where we're connecting the younger members, the young professionals, and the students with some of the older members who have been around a long time.
Absolutely, and I love that mentality where, you know, you're right. You do, in the life cycle of a membership, you do really want to still engage somebody throughout the life cycle of their membership. So this help concept really can work towards your favor in terms of member retention and really getting those members involved on committees, being your membership ambassadors because they're so passionate. They've been members so long, they get the experience. That's a really great way to think about that. And I'm going to call on Tracy first, because the Alamo chapter has a really great board buddy concept. Tracy, can you talk about that?
Absolutely. Somewhat kind of like what Brian was talking about, what they do is when we have a new member, and we try to do it quarterly, is as we focus on the new members, but even the members we haven't seen in a while, we'll go through the roster at a meeting. We really hit it hard at retreat, but then we follow up quarterly at meetings, and we assign someone a board buddy. We say, here are your 5 people that, we would like for you to make contact with, and, set up a date for coffee, or maybe meet them at the NACE meeting a little earlier, and just really try to form that connection. Because even though, we're a 51 to 100 chapter, but we have very good attendance at meetings, and sometimes you can just get lost at a meeting, if everyone's talking in their groups and whatnot. So we have found the board buddy to be very successful, because people want to feel like they're a part of something. And when I first joined NACE, anybody who's heard my story, when I first joined NACE, I did not feel very welcome in my chapter. And when I went on the board, I was pretty straight up with everybody. I said, I want to be on this board, but things have got to change. And we all rallied together and made some changes, and within a year and a half, we were over 100 members. So, when you get that synergy and really care about the members and get them involved, it really makes a difference.
Well, and I agree. I think a lot of chapters get the cliquey reputation, and I think implementing some of these strategies makes that go away immediately, because there's just no room for it. And there's yes, we all have friends and people that we haven't seen, and you'd love to catch up at a meeting, but also the opportunity to meet new people, I think, is a really critical piece of value for members overall, because we, at a Houston chapter meeting a few years ago, we actually last year, we assigned seating, kind of like you were at a wedding, and you didn't get to sit with your buddies. And it was, we got such great feedback. There were a couple people that were a little grumpy about it, and I get that. But
sure,
for the most part, our feedback was so tremendous, because everybody got the opportunity to meet somebody new and interact with a new group of people. And now we're seeing that those connections that we made are still going strong a year later. So, think about that as a potential concept, to where even if you don't assign seating for everyone, one of the things that we've seen really successful is the president's table, that you as a new member are invited to sit at the president's table. Like, it makes people feel super important right off the bat, and you just reserve one table, and that's the president's table. And you typically aren't going to have more than 9 new members or 9 guests at a meeting that haven't been before, or something along those lines. And it's just a simple, couple of days before the meeting, hey, I'd really like to invite you to sit at my table, email from your chapter president. It's really, really valuable for people to feel immediately connected, and kind of super important that they're getting to sit with the president.
So, I love that.
Something that you might consider as well. And then Julie from Tampa has a great coffee with the president concept as well. Can you talk about that, Julie?
Actually, our president now, Michelle Renee Zerda, actually brought that back. I'm not sure where. It was another chapter. It might have been Houston. That what she does is, over the course of the month, she tries to go and meet with any member. It's not always a new member, it's a member, and she actually goes live on Facebook with the member. It gives the venue, or whatever the vendor is doing, a little bit of extra attention and love on social media. And also, it's like that vendor, it's like the president's table, really. It's invaluable, because we get the exposure on social media, and the vendor feels appreciated and heard at the same time. It's almost like a mini member spotlight.
Right, absolutely, absolutely. Perfect. Thank you all for that. One of the things I also, give new members especially the opportunity to get involved in special chapter projects, community service projects. Give them the exposure, because you're always going to have members who can't get away during lunch, or have kids that they need to tend to in the evening. So, programs might not be the best way for them to get involved. But if there's an outside event like a community service project, a blood drive, a food bank opportunity, they want to be able to give back. So incorporate those kinds of opportunities into your sort of new member welcome spiel so that they know of all the opportunities there are for them to contribute to the organization as a whole and to the community, because that's really important. That sense of value that creates within a new member is really exciting. And you'll find, I think, that your chapter programs like that, those community service events or outside chapter activities, will tend to grow for people who can't necessarily make it to every meeting.
Yeah, and if I could piggyback on that too, Lisa, I couldn't agree more. In fact, I think there are professionals, and myself included, who get so busy that the idea of volunteering time and money to a good cause is something that continuously gets pushed to the back burner. But I really, really want to get involved in community service. And if you find, I think, as a new member, a potential member, that an association is in alignment with some of your social causes, that may be an enticement in and of itself to join that group. Just knowing that I can kind of double my time and get involved in a community service program at the same time. So
sure. And like what you're talking about, the NACE roadmap one sheet that you're kind of talking about, I'd really like for us to maybe explore this and try to come up with something in the next few months to really maybe launch at the CLC meeting at Evolve, because I really feel like something like that would be really valuable for all the chapter leaders to incorporate with their chapter. You know, here are our social causes, is our program schedule, here's our whatever that ends up looking like. I really feel like we could come up with something really awesome and use that as a chapter leader tool for new member engagement. So that's something that I'm just gonna say we're gonna go ahead and work on for the CLC meeting. Experience can't necessarily promise it's gonna be 100%, but you know, we have 2.5 months, should be enough time. We can add a project to your plate. You don't mind, right? Julie, Brian, and Tracy, I'm just gonna add a project to your plate. No big deal. But I really feel like it's something that I think other chapter leaders would find really of value.
It would be something that I would appreciate down the road for sure. I think it would be invaluable. Time saver for your committees and time saver for you as a recruitment. Yeah.
Sure. Karen, do you mind helping us on that project?
Sorry, I have to unmute myself. Not at all.
Okay. Do you have anything to add so far? Are we leaving anything out quite that we need to kind of touch on in terms of engagement and recruitment?
You know, it's crazy. I would literally as people were talking, I was like thinking of like, oh yeah, but then somebody else would say it. So I was like, okay, well, I can mark that off. I mean, it's like everybody has such great ideas. And I think that everybody's goal is to acquire the new members, but to retain them. And I think that is the biggest thing of giving them the value. But like literally, like I said, breaking up the board, call for volunteers to be table hosts, like everybody that kind of checked it out. And I'll be honest, a lot of the ideas, and Brian is from my chapter, so I kind of am familiar with obviously what we do, but a lot of the things and ideas came from Evolve and came from sitting, and I think that that's a really, really big piece as well, is as VPs of membership or even directors of membership or membership committees, it's really finding that information and finding other people in your position to throw ideas off of and to get ideas. It's not, you know, in our world, I think we are competitive as chapters for some things, but we're also here as a support system for each other. And I think that that's something that is really, really important to encourage. While yes, we, you know, have our awards and we don't necessarily give away all the trade secrets, but if there's something that you feel like you're missing from your chapter or that your chapter needs help with as far as membership goes, the best people and the best resources are other people in the same position. So that's something that I just highly encourage is, you know, I mean, I think I heard a lot of the ideas that we took, we got a lot of them from Evolve and from other chapters, but that's what it's there for. And again, that's, you know, another very, very big thing about going to Evolve is finding those tools and finding those people that you connect with. And I think I mean, Lisa, you and I preach it pretty much every time just because of our relationship, but your relationships, and that is probably one of the biggest member benefits that members don't see, is the friendships and the relationships that you get, not just for NACE, but in the industry from other parts of the country, because you never know when somebody might message you and say, I have an event in, I mean, I have a friend who actually is in San Diego, and she does catering for her company. Well, or not San Diego, San Jose. And I literally messaged her and said, have you ever used Cater 2? Messaged Greg Costella and said, hey, do you ever work with this company? I would like to connect you. I would not have known that unless I would have met people through my membership and attending and being involved.
And if I could elaborate too, I think Karen hit on an important point when she said that, you know, that's one of the elements that you don't see. Well, find a way to help your potential members see that. You know, one of the things that we're starting to do is testimonial videos, and testimonials are huge because of exactly what Karen's alluding to. You know, there are these relationships that are formed that people carry throughout the entirety of their career, that started with NACE. And if we find a way to call attention to that and make that part of our marketing message, I think we'll see a lot more members join up. You know, it's kind of a natural and organic process.
Perfect.
I agree. May I add something real fast?
Of course, yes, ma'am. Absolutely.
Okay, great. Well, I just wanted to clarify what I said earlier. You know, I'm not at all saying that it's any chapter's diabolical plan to, you know, purposely let members not feel welcome. It's just human nature, right? We gravitate towards people that we know. So I'm not at all saying that. I know everyone really, truly wants to grow their chapter and welcome members, but it's just something that you have to consciously force yourself to get outside your comfort zone and talk to new people. But it's absolutely not anything diabolical or purposeful, which is something you have to really focus on.
It's human nature, absolutely. You want to talk to your friends that you haven't seen because you're so crazy busy at work and you have a personal life and commitments outside NACE. Like NACE is our lives, and I totally get that. But we also have full-time paying jobs and other things that take up our time. So when you get to a NACE meeting, you want to sit and catch up with your friend over a glass of wine, and you know, doesn't always come first of mind to make some new connections there. So I totally get that. How many of your membership people are talking about the national member only benefits? Not a lot of people, I think, are aware of a lot of these great opportunities from companies like BizBash, Court, Thrive Hive, TSYS, which is a credit card processing service, so your processing rates go down, so your chapter ultimately keeps more of that registration fee. UPS, Vertera, business insurance. There are all kinds of member-only benefits that are provided by both business partners and affiliate companies. So make sure you have this somewhere on your members-only page on your website. Or just use the URL from the national site that once they're a member, they can log in and access all of these resources. I mean, vacation rental cars. Like if you're renting a car and you're on vacation, use the NACE code and you save, you get a discount. So all of those kinds of things, I think, add up to additional benefits in terms of you know, national member-only benefits. So that's something that we need to incorporate into our chapters as well. And then let's go to the next slide. In terms of chapter benefits, like what, you know, a lot of times what we hear from chapter leaders is, well, people don't want to pay the $3.95 fee. They just want to belong. Or they just want to come as a guest and they're not ever going to join. That's fine. Well, then they miss out on opportunities. The Houston chapter does something called a kudos board that is at the registration table at every meeting, and members only are allowed to write on that board business they received or referred from a fellow NACE member. So, Brayburn Country Club gave business this month to, you know, X company, Y company, Z company, and then somebody else comes behind me, and then those get announced as part of the chapter announcements, so that your business is getting sort of a little bit of exposure and you're creating a sense of value in terms of actual concrete business that people are referring back and forth between members. So I really feel like that's something really valuable, and non-members can't participate in that. And if we see a non-member company on there, we just, quietly erase it, because this is a member-only benefit. And then I know each of the 3 panelists do some really great things in terms of members-only opportunities. Julie, do you want to start with this one?
With the cocktail hour? With the member-only mixers?
Yes.
What we have found was we were heavy venues for the members in NACE, and so our venues would be vying for an opportunity to host the meeting to showcase what they were. So we were, how can we? So we did twofold. How can we give some members an opportunity to host an event that's not going to cost us anything, but also give a benefit to members only? So we rolled this out last year. It's a members only mixer. So we hold it on a different night than we hold our NACE meetings, so that it may be an availability for somebody that doesn't normally come to the meetings because of work. It's also a free event. There's no cost to participate, and the onus goes on to the venue that wanted to host it. So it might be one cocktail and one appetizer from 5:30 to 8:30 at a venue on a Monday night, because we meet on Tuesdays. And you have to register, and you cannot bring a guest. It's only for members. And we've seen what happens is it's a more intimate one-on-one with new members, and usually about 25 to 40 members will show up, and they love it because it gives them an opportunity to get some quiet one-on-one time without a program. It's more free form, and then at least 2 board members are there at every one of those. We do 1 a quarter.
I love that. Love that.
It's just a members only benefit,
Sure.
And the feedback has been good so far.
I love that. Brian, do you guys do anything like that in Denver in terms of members only?
So we haven't done it yet, but we've been talking about doing a happy hour. We really want to find a day, I don't know, not necessarily weekly, but maybe every other week or something, that we can do a happy hour and keep it set. We know that attendance will be small, but like Julie was saying, we kind of expect a little bit more of that intimate engagement, that one-on-one. So we're talking about doing something like that. And we do discounted registrations for members, of course, for programs.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Tracy, do you have anything? Does Alamo do anything along these lines?
We do. We also do the discounted registrations, and we have tried the happy hours. It's a little hit and miss. It just kind of depends what conventions are in town. We're a highly tourism town. But I'm really liking the headshot sessions. I think that's something that we should try, because I think that's very valuable. I love that idea.
So I can tell you the chapter that I saw that executed this really well charged a $10 fee. They got 1 drink and, a small appetizer spread donated. And basically they paid the registration fee to the photographer, because obviously the photographer is using time and supplies and editing and all of those things. But it was really something that was successful, and it was a members only benefit. Like, you couldn't come if you weren't a member. And then we took their headshots once the member approved. We took their headshots and then uploaded them into our member database for them, so that they already had their photo in their member database. And we did that on their behalf, so they didn't have to, which was really nice. And it's really great that we connected photographers with a lot of different types of members, and some really great business connections have come from those. So I really feel like that was really great concept that was really executed well. And we'll share some more information like that with you guys as we get to some of the best practices at the CLC meeting and experience. And I would really like on the chapter leader Facebook page, if you guys have some members only benefits, please share them on the chapter leader Facebook page, because we all need great ideas that are working really well within a chapter, so that we can try as well to really create that value for our members. Next slide. All of this is leading up to new member recruitment, which we're in the middle of a recruitment campaign right now. But when you don't have a recruitment campaign, what are you doing in terms of member recruitment? And do you all have a NACE elevator speech? Brian mentioned earlier testimonials are huge, especially the video testimonials about the NACE story. Tracy mentioned it earlier in terms of her NACE story and how she's changed the culture of her chapter to make sure people feel like they belong. Do you guys want to talk about this a little bit? Who wants to go first?
I'll go. You know, what we do as NACE members is spread the good news of NACE, right? And the best way to do that is to just merely share your story. You know, I do appreciate the elevator speech, but I really think as long as everyone shares how NACE benefited them, that way it's not, you know, we don't want to have the canned speech, if you will, but really make it personal and talk about how NACE has benefited you and your career and how much business you got. So even if it was a month where maybe I didn't have a particular situation I could talk about, I know 5 other members who did, and they might not be with me, but I can certainly share their testimonial as well. And I just think when people really see the benefit of NACE in their own town with people that they probably know, then that, you know, the rest is easy, as they say. They'll find the money to join.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I agree. That personal story about why NACE is valuable to you is huge when you're talking to somebody. And to that point, kind of making an effort to go talk to people when possible is huge. I've actually personally gone and sat down with a couple of people and talked about NACE membership, and just showing up and, you know, bringing them some marketing material and telling them why I picked NACE over the dozens of other associations out there. It really goes a long way for them. I think they really feel like, okay, well, kind of what we're talking about earlier in the conversation, that feeling of clickiness that you can sometimes get with associations, that kind of melts away when you're willing to have that conversation with them personally. So we're also kind of focused on recruitment from 2 different levels. And I kind of alluded earlier to the student membership. To me, membership and student membership go hand in hand. They're 2, you know, just linked from the very beginning at birth. Because we're in an industry where there's a fixed amount of people in this business, and you know, there isn't an unlimited supply of meeting planners or vendors or venues or caterers, et cetera. So for that purpose, having a pipeline of new members, of people that are coming into the industry brand new, is very important. Another thing for us that we're focusing on is recruitment at a hotel level. Hotels have such heavy turnover, and typically memberships can leave a hotel, and so you can really see a dip in retention because of that. So we're focused now on, we actually have a hotel task force within our committee, 2 members that go out to the hotels, meet the people, do a little intel and figure out who's who first, and then go meet the directors of sales and the directors of banquets, and just preach the idea behind NACE and why NACE is the best association in the area. So
Love that. Great job. Thank you. Real quick question for all 3 of you. Whose job is membership on your board besides you?
Everybody.
Thank you. Membership is a team effort, and your entire board should know that they are not in the association business, they are in the membership business. Making your members feel valuable, living, eating, and breathing membership, and thinking about your programs, your awards, whatever you're doing within your chapter, have a membership mentality when it comes to those things. Making sure your members feel valued, feel appreciated, have opportunities for them to meet, learn, and help. That's going to create a huge amount of value within your membership, and that's what your board's primary focus should be, is membership. because every aspect of your chapter ties back to membership. If you don't have members, you don't have a chapter, and then you don't have programs, and then you don't have anything else to base any of that on. So membership is your entire board's job, and you have to engage your entire board with recruitment. And Julie actually has a great tool that she uses for this, that she requires from the rest of her board to get them engaged.
It's on the slide. Did you want me to expand on that?
Absolutely, yes.
So I say that at every single board meeting, and when I send my notes to the president, I say membership is, we're all on the membership committee, and actually we just ordered name tags as well, so I'm asking the board members to wear them, not just to NACE meetings, but when they have a meeting. We talked about having a business card for them made as well with the NACE logo on it, because branding, the more they see us out in the public, is better for all of us. But I do ask that over the course of these, a lot of the board members are venues, and so they're interacting with other vendors every single day. And so grab a business card. I'd like a minimum of 5 every month at our board meeting. And then I've taken it a step further, and I've created a roster of all those business cards that they've given me. It's an active Google file. So now I upload those cards, and each board member has a section. And so the cards that they've given me, I've assigned them, touch those cards one time, give them a call and let them know, invite them personally to a board meeting, CC me on an email and shoot it over, and I will follow up with, hey, thanks for inquiring about NACE. This is my information that I have to give you. Here's a link to join with any questions you might have. I mean, having those 5 business cards from each board member, it's helping us create a pipeline that, if we can get 1 or 2 memberships out of it per member, that's great.
Awesome, thank you. Amanda, can we go to the next slide? These are some other best practices that have been shared with me over the years. If you use Star Chapter, you have a prospect list that doesn't include members. Reach out to other members who their membership has expired. Maybe they didn't even realize. To rejoin and re-engage in your chapter, talk about all the new things that your chapter is doing in terms of directions and programs and community service involvement and all the things that you're doing, and give them an opportunity to re-engage. There are chapters that host guest days, and you incentivize your members for bringing a guest or a friend. And there's a contest for a free, program registration for the person that brings the most guests, or the person that has the most guests join, whatever it ends up being. And you have your guests pay what a member pays to experience a NACE meeting. It's a great opportunity to be used as a recruitment tool. So that's definitely something that has worked for a few chapters. Membership should be at the registration table, either your ambassador committee or your VP of membership, welcoming people, welcoming guests, especially new members. And then as part of your chapter program, when you're making announcements, membership should be speaking every month in order to keep membership, recruitment, and member engagement at the forefront of your members' minds as well, because the best source of new members is your current members. So keep that in mind. Keep your membership feel at every chapter program. And then obviously Brian has talked a lot about the membership conversion of young professional to professional and student into young professional. That pipeline of younger members exists already. Make sure you're doing everything you can to engage those younger members, like Brian said, with legacy type members who are, well established in the industry. Make sure you're connecting those younger leaders with those legacy members so that they can connect and really see the value of NACE over the course of their career, not just at the beginning while they're getting started. We have about 6 minutes left, so we're going to move to the just another reminder to share your best practices in regards to membership. On social media, we like to spur those roundtable discussions in terms of the Chapter Leaders Facebook page. Do we have any questions? If you have questions, there's a little chat button on your side panel on your GoToWebinar. Please feel free to type in some questions, burning questions about membership retention, recruitment, how we can help you come up with a great NACE talking points. We're obviously going to work on a NACE roadmap for Experience CLC meeting. Are there any questions, Amanda? Nope.
Oh, there's one now.
Okay, perfect.
For events and programs, do we allow members for sponsors for events and programs?
So there are chapters who only allow NACE members to be sponsors in terms of their programs. I know that that's not always possible for some of the chapters, and I don't necessarily think that that's possible for every chapter, every program. But one of the things that you can do is really incentivize that member to join in terms of their sponsorship. I like the members only are allowed to showcase their goods and services, their products at NACE meetings, because to me, that's a huge member only benefit, but I also understand that's not possible for every chapter, every program. Do any of the panelists have any thoughts on that?
Yeah, I mean, I'm inclined to agree with you. I think depending on your chapter, you can really paint yourself into a corner if you sort of make sponsorship a membership only thing. I'd hate to tie programs' hands in that capacity to the point where they're looking for a caterer and can't find one of their membership, and now we can't do the program because we can't go outside of membership days. But to the point of sponsoring, I think that does kind of highlight an important membership value, and that's that when you do have sponsors for anything, for a program or for anything else, make sure you're bringing enough attention to those sponsors. Make sure you're calling them out at the events. Make sure you're highlighting them in written material and collateral and all of that, because the benefit that comes from offering up a sponsorship disappears when the association's not calling you out for it. So
sure.
Can I jump in on that?
Sure, of course.
What we do the same thing. We really do try to, and we had to tweak that because we caught ourselves with you have to be a member in order to sponsor an event. We did catch some snags with that, so we changed our wording where we will reach out to NACE members first, exhaust all possibilities before we go ahead, and then we say it does help our membership when we say if you will join, we will be able to extend this to you on more than one occasion. And then to back that up with the shout outs, we always ask for their logo immediately upon their membership, and also when we're planning through the programs, so that when we roll out the announcement for the meeting, it's on the flyer already that they will be sponsoring. And as the sponsors jump in, we change that with each meeting announcement.
And I find that a lot of chapters obviously use social media, whether it's Facebook, Instagram, whatever. Tagging your sponsors in those types of posts does create some value as well. And like Brian said, brings attention to the fact that you have people that are donating product, time, services, labor to make your chapter program successful. So appreciate those people for what they're doing for your chapter, because again, that all ties back to membership. If they feel like their donation to your chapter was valued, they're going to do it again, and they're going to do it. They're going to do it willingly and gladly, and they're going to be coming to you saying, when can I do it again? When can I be part of a chapter program again? Versus you having to reach out and find a caterer. You're going to have your caterers lining up and saying, when can I participate again? Because of all the love and recognition they received from you. Do we have any other questions? Nope.
No, I think we are all set.
Perfect. Well, I certainly appreciate everyone taking time out of their day to participate in this webinar. Thank you, Brian. Thank you, Julie. Thank you, Tracy. Thank you, Karen, for sharing your best practices and sharing all your great ideas. This recording is going to be available on the Chapter Leader resource page And then we will also be tying this into some of the content that we're going to have at the CLC meeting at Experience. Thank you guys so much. We appreciate your help. We appreciate your participation, and we hope you got some great ideas from all these valuable industry experts in terms of your chapter's membership. Thank you so much. Y'all have a great day.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thanks.
We will have our next chapter leader webinar on Tuesday, May 28th. Is that correct, Amanda? For
Yeah.
sure? Is that when we're doing? Okay, perfect. And it's going to be on chapter programs. So thank you.
Yeah, thanks everyone.
Thanks, guys.
Bye.
Thank you. Bye.